Welcome, everybody. Today's Binghamton City Council business meeting. It is Wednesday, May 21st. I call the meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Murray.
Same.
Councilmember Middleton. Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Present.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Present.
Councilmember Matavetsky is absent. Councilmember Rathmo.
Present.
Council President Dundon.
Present.
Thank you.
Can I get approval of the last meeting's minutes, please? Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
With a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
So reports from committees. We had two committee meetings, one finance committee meeting and a planning committee meeting. We'll start with Councilmember Rathmel on the planning committee.
Thank you. So Planning Committee met on May 8th this month to discuss the protocol that is not but should be in place to support demolition and redevelopment decisions, particularly involving city-owned properties and vacant lots. Mayor Cram joined us and outlined aspects of which departments are typically involved and how properties have been considered appropriate or inappropriate for rehabilitation, sale, etc. And council continues to review those notes with the goal of proposing a more strategic, transparent, and inclusive approach. I would just add that Planning Committee is also meeting tomorrow at 1:30. Mayor Cram and Code Department Supervisor Chris Schleider will be joining us to review the proactive rental housing inspection program that was submitted in early March.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Rathmel. Councilmember Kavanaugh.
The Finance Committee also met on May 8th. Our agenda was basically to go over the proposed Siemens energy performance contract, which we discussed, over the course of 5 months now, 6 months, and trying to reevaluate it, take into consideration feedback from our constituents, from departments, from our own kind of evaluation of, in particular, the siting of electric vehicle chargers, some of the more or less clearly beneficial upgrades that were included, and trying to come up with a plan that's hopefully workable. We're still waiting now for that revised plan to come back from Siemens. Then we will probably meet again and discuss that final before we propose it, or before I recommend that it comes back to council. So
Thank you so much, Councilmember Kavanaugh. So moving on to public comment. Residents wishing to submit public comment may do so electronically by emailing their comments prior to 1 p.m. on the day of the meeting to clerk@cityofbinghamton.gov, or can attend a meeting in person. Anyone like to come up for public comment? Good evening, Elaine. Just state your name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton, not that we all don't know you.
My name is Elaine, and yes, I do live in the city of Binghamton. First thing on my mind is what happened at Salvation Army. It was an isolated incident. Even if it happens inside or outside, you never see it coming. That's how fast the perps do move. They run and they hurt somebody very terribly. I will never blame the unarmed civilians. I will never blame the volunteers because they didn't see it coming. Okay? The reason why I say that is because my phone got stolen on me when I left it charging and abandoned. It only took a fraction of a second for the person behind me to unplug my phone, because they ran that fast, unplugged my phone, ran out of the library with it. If it wasn't for surveillance cameras over there, I never would have known who stole my phone at the public library. So yes, surveillance cameras do work. It's a cheaper way to go. Another thing, I disagree with threatening our volunteers or our unarmed civilians. I can say this much about Salvation Army. They are the nicest volunteers ever. They serviced and provided for pregnant women, children with their parents or with their caregivers, the disabled, the elderly. We cannot let down those voters, okay? And it's very important to think before leaving, because you take food away, we'll have a high mortality rate, and that's going to hit the streets. So my suggestion is have it owned by the county, like you did the public library and like you did the BC Junction, and put in surveillance cameras. They're going to be moving to 86 Walnut Street. They will need that done. But in the meantime, you need to think about the mortality rate, and that means rescinding it. And you guys can go to state court and have it rescinded. You can get the volunteers to admit that they did it under pressure without thinking. That way you get it rescinded, and then it gets, but you'll have to get it passed per county to own Salvation Army. That way you guys can put in surveillance cameras in there, which is a lot cheaper. And then somebody will be watching from the police office in case there's an incident. But I don't think there will be an incident because it actually worked at the junction. The people stopped going there that caused trouble. They were of violent nature and had mouths like you wouldn't believe. They stopped making an eyesore out of it. So yes, it did work over there and it will work there. The other issue I have to address to you is I am dependent on Medicare and Social Security. I do not want that cut at all. I've done fine paying my rent on time. And with my Medicare, I need that Part A, Part B, Part C, and Part D, not just for my prescriptions, but for my yearly exam and other things. And I need my Medicaid in case I overdo it. And I need the Medicaid to cover it. And I need my SNAP, which is food stamps, that helps me buy healthy foods so I can live longer. And I hope you guys can come to an agreement at City Council here, all 8 of you, and then approach the mayor. Tell him, please think over, because overreacting does not help. It does not help the community at all. But dealing with the problem, it does. Not blaming the workers, not blaming the unarmed civilians that went in there for a free meal. And that wasn't the only thing they got. People piled in donations of clothing, blankets to help the people out with. Now they cannot get clean clothes or blankets. It's disenfranchising elderly, the disabled, children, and the pregnant moms, and the parents, and the caregivers. We can't do that to unarmed civilians. So the best way to de-escalate a situation is say, I have to accept the things I cannot change, but change the things I can in a more mature way and a more positive way. Do it for the sake of the public.
Thank you, Elaine. Would anyone else like to come down and speak during public comment? Please state your name and if you live or work in the city.
Sure. My name is Rue and I work in the city of Binghamton. So why I'm here today is because Binghamton is being led by a mayor who keeps making big moves without any real plan to back it up. And that's why more and more of us are calling him what he's shown himself to be, which is no plan, Jared Cram. Let's take a hard look at what's happening here. So rumor has it, Jared Cram's told the Salvation Army to shut down, one of the only places left in Binghamton where people in need could find food and support. The Salvation Army was closed suddenly with no transition, no backup plan, and no replacement services, just more people left behind. And then what's his next move? No plan, Jared Cram bought St. Mary's. And that sounds good, right? Except there's no plan for it. What a surprise. It could be serving meals. It could be helping those displaced by the Salvation Army's closure. No plan, Jared Cram acted without a vision. So meanwhile, the same mayor wants to spend an estimated $2 million of taxpayer money to seize the Binghamton Plaza through eminent domain just for demolition alone. That doesn't even account for the legal fees of development or the cost of purchasing it. And now he's holding public meetings, asking people what they think he should do with it. He wants to spend millions of dollars before having a plan. This isn't leadership, folks. It's reckless, it's wasteful, and it's happening while Jared's Republican allies in Washington are pushing an austerity budget that cuts essential services like Medicaid and SNAP, taking people's food off of their tables and care out of their reach, while our mayor cuts local services and wastes money on empty buildings and vague promises. We deserve better. We need a mayor who puts people before press conferences, a mayor who leads with purpose and not politics, And until then, we will keep speaking out because Binghamton deserves more than photo ops and press statements. Binghamton deserves more than no plan Jared Cram. And folks, he is just not a serious person. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come down and speak during public comment? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, did we have any public comments emailed in? All right, we will move on to second read legislation, introductory ordinance 025-35, considered in Public Works, and I'll hand it over to Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Make a motion to adopt introductory ordinance 025-35. This is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to accept $211,065.65 grant from Broome County.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Having a motion and a second, discussion.
I think I was the primary reason this was held over from our last meeting. I had several questions about the remaining funds in the Greater Binghamton Fund after most of the housing projects that were outlined in the 2017 plan didn't move forward. I was able to meet directly with the county and state folks responsible for the fund, got answers to all of the questions that I had, shared them with council. So I appreciate the extra time to take that on.
Anybody else have anything they want to add?
Just specifically what this is pertaining to is the alleyway that is next to Crowbar. I think the address is 195 State Street. There was some initial discussions about trying to purchase it and have it become a public right of way, but I think that's not included in this resolution. However, this money is going to be spent on is being accepted with the idea that we're going to be making improvements to that alley to add to the Art Deco district. That's all. If we can't come to some type of a lease or something, we can send this money back to Broome County, but ultimately that's why we're accepting it.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to add? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, do a roll call, please.
Councilmember Rathmel.
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky is absent. Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton. Councilmember Murray.
Aye.
Council President Dundon.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-0.
Moving on to first read legislation. This is introductory ordinance 025-36, considered in employees, and I'll hand it over to Councilmember Murray.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt introductory ordinance 025-36, an ordinance to amend the 2025 police budget for lead domestic violence analyst.
A motion
I'll second.
and now a second discussion.
I have a lot of thoughts that are really about this ordinance as well as 025-37. So I'll say them here and just reiterate them in discussion for 37 if needed. Because the analyst position is related to the Strive program, in reading the plan, the Strives program executive board proposed for its funding, I support the two positions being added to crime victims, the overtime dollars being made available to RISE. I'm deeply uncomfortable, however, with the anticipated activities of this analyst that BPD is hoping to hire, and how the plan, oddly, though maybe unsurprisingly, uses the rate of poverty and increases in homelessness in Binghamton to support enhancing the crime analysis center's targeting of poor, unhoused, and underemployed individuals for data analysis and surveillance monitoring operations. I'm just going to go with all of my comments for both of them, if folks are okay with that. It's also strange to me that the plan repeatedly references, quote, incidents that occur without law enforcement involvement, and uses claims that, quote, more victims are seeking services and support than are involved with law enforcement agencies to justify forcing what they call law enforcement partnerships on sites like emergency shelters that currently work effectively with DV victims and have never asked for BPD involvement nor indicated a need to, quote, foster community and understanding between those residents and law enforcement. Similarly, the plan seems to imply that the trainings outlined will equip officers to respond to quote high need victims in light of the lack of behavioral health services otherwise available in Binghamton. And I need us to understand that law enforcement cannot and should not be expected to fill the gaps in mental health or substance use disorder treatment that have resulted from decades of insufficient funding and a complete failure to adequately address primary social determinants of health. It is not only consistently more costly for police officers to provide such critical services, but it is entirely outside of their expertise and scope. If we're considering adding funding to budget lines for behavioral health, this is the wrong department to be looking at. Finally, relative to the plan, at least it is entirely disingenuous for the county to put out a framework claiming to care about protecting marginalized communities that declares the ACA and STAP as, quote, valued partners of the coordinated community response when the sheriff responsible for much of this program voluntarily and enthusiastically opted into a federal protocol that is actively harming immigrants and refugees at local levels and unapologetically supports political perspectives that do not believe in the rights of LGBTQIA people to exist.
Anyone else have anything they would like to add?
Yeah. The state framework for accepting and appreciating everything that you just said and some of the implications of it. The state framework for the STRIVE grant and for implementation by jurisdiction requires each jurisdiction to have a crime analyst position specifically created to deal with the STRIVE program. So I feel like this is simply our way of meeting that requirement. And it's it would be either in the BPD or JC. PD, I think, would have to fulfill this. I mean, I can check, but that's the what do I want to say? The origin and nexus of this position needing to be created. I don't know if there is some implementation language or something from the local plan. I have not read through the local plan, only the state document.
Right, and
to make that more
sorry.
More let's say more I don't know, comprehensive, more compatible with some of the stated, more compatible with hoped outcomes in the community, let's say. I don't know.
I guess with that analysis, I need to dig further into this, and I'm not comfortable voting on it right now. I haven't dug into the 19-page document. I didn't have a chance to do that. So I would right now, if you guys don't have any further discussion, make a motion to hold over introductory ordinance 025-36.
I'd second that.
Well, we have a motion and a second to hold over, and we haven't passed our new legislation. So, Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call for the holdover?
Councilmember Rathmel.
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky is absent. Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Murray.
Aye.
Council President Dundon.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-0.
So seeing that 025-37 ties in with 025-36, do we want to just make a motion to hold that over as well?
Yeah.
So do I have a motion to hold over?
I'll make the motion.
And a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, well, is there any discussion on that? I don't think there's going to be any. Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call on that too, please?
Councilmember Rathmel.
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky is absent. Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Murray. Council President Dundon. Thank you. That is 6-0.
Moving on to introductory ordinance 025-38, considered in Public Works, and I'll hand it over to Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Make a motion to adopt introductory ordinance 025-38. This is an ordinance to amend the 2025 DPW budget for over budget line items.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second discussion.
This resolution is just authorizing DPW to adjust some of their budget lines to cover expenses due to costly repairs of some of their equipment. It's all within their budget still, right?
Can't be handled in-house. There was some, I think, particularly heavy plow damage and things. So
Yeah, it was for their DEF systems, which is the diesel exhaust fume system. And that normally you need specialty mechanics, whether it's CAT or CASE or depending on who's the equipment manufacturer. Anyone else have anything for the discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Rathmel,
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky is absent. Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh. Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Murray.
Aye.
Council President Dundon.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-0.
Moving on to introductory ordinance 025-39, considered in the Employees Committee, and I'll hand it over to Councilmember Murray.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt introductory ordinance 025-39, which is an ordinance to amend the 2025 police budget to defund general equipment manager position and fund the supervisor general equipment repair position.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second discussion. So I know the one thing I want to put on the record is I find it kind of funny that all of a sudden we have a garage downstairs that I was never aware of that already seems to be up and running and just needs a mechanic for the police department. So yeah, last I knew, that's the reason why we moved the fire station was because none of those bays could handle the weight of a vehicle to continue to do maintenance and storage on. But I guess I was wrong there. So it's just kind of interesting how this, never heard of this, anything before Monday, that we had the equipment to have the the BPD garage downstairs. So that was just interesting news to me, and I just wanted that on the record.
I agree with you, President Dundon, excuse me. It just seems like it was already done and then now we're voting on it. So that's just not okay, but that on record.
You go first.
So does this position change represent a union switch? Are they moving?
So the DPW mechanic did not want to leave the Teamsters union, so I believe that's why the police department needs to have their own mechanic, so that way he's not stuck splitting time between the Binghamton Police Department and DPW.
Okay, because not something I've been tracking closely, but it seems like a number of times we've had mechanics or repair people that are shifting department.
Well, that happened last year with the firefighters because their mechanic actually worked under the CSEA contract, even though he worked out of the new fire station. So he wanted to be, part of their union, which has, some better benefits in some spots. Anyone else? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Rathmel,
I'm getting there. I'm just checking one thing in the.
take your time. I'm just going to come back to you in the roll call then. Councilmember Matavetsky is absent. Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Murray.
Aye.
Council President Dundon.
Aye.
Councilmember Rathmel.
No.
Thank you. That is 5-1.
Moving on to introductory resolution R25-28, considered in Public Works, and I'll hand it over to Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Make a motion to adopt introductory resolution R25-28. This is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into agreement with New York State Department of Transportation for water main improvements.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have it a motion and a second discussion.
I think this is basically just allowing New York State to help us out with some water main challenges that they had along the Greenway, 434 project. So that's all I want to get into.
Yeah, they're just, New York State Department of Transportation is going to update the sewer line and the stormwater line where Route 363 intersects with Route 434, if I'm correct.
Yes, and they need to move some of the stuff to do some of the greenway improvements that they want to do. So they're going to be moving some of the pipes as well as some of the bail, whatever, some of the turnoffs. They're basically just moving stuff so they can do the greenway improvements.
Anyone else have anything they want to say? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call?
Councilmember Rathmel.
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky is absent. Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Murray. Council President Dundon.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-0.
Moving on to introductory resolution R25-29, considered an MPA, and I'll hand it over to Councilmember Middleton.
Thank you, President Dundon. I'd like to make a motion for introductory, hold on. Oh. Introductory 25-29, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Broome County Health Department for the Community Cancer Prevention and Action Program.
Having a motion, do we have a second? I'll second. Discussion.
So basically, sorry, I was reading it and then basically this is a grant for benches. Basically it's just a grant for benches. It's just a grant to fund 2 shaded benches through the cancer program. I also did ask like if we could do something else with that, but I guess it's like designated for that, but that's all.
I would add that Mark Bauer, so the benches are slated for the 2 Rivers Greenway, and Southside Neighborhood Association had Mark Bowers from Friends of the 2 Rivers Greenway at our meeting last night, representing the opportunity for residents to sign on to be friends of the 2 Rivers Greenway. I know he's excited and the core group with the Greenway are excited about the bench opportunities. They did say they felt it was a missed piece in its development that there were not covered benches or evidently garbage cans put along parts of the way. So.
And there's nothing there now, so.
Right.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to add? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Rathmel.
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky is absent. Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Murray.
Aye.
Council President Dundon.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-0.
So we're moving on to communications from council, and I'm going to pick Councilmember Hotchkiss to start us off tonight.
Thank you, Council President. I wanted to first acknowledge my constituent, Ron. He puts together all the past tours for the sacred sites that happened on Sunday. I was able to get to a few different sites, and I think whenever these come around, folks should take advantage of them. We have a lot of really great history and local architecture, and it just gives you insight into different pieces of our community that you might not know about. So shout out to Ron and Past for making that all happen. I think we have like one of the highest number of sites in New York State that participates in that whole program. The second positive thing I have is I've been getting a lot of calls about good cause. That's good that the word is out there. And from both like tenants and landlords, we also have a web page. So, but if you want to look at the City of Binghamton's website, Google Good Cause City of Binghamton. There's some frequently asked questions that are on there that might help you navigate. There's also links to forms and different state resources, but I would encourage you to look at that before calling me. I'm happy to take calls and will continue to take calls, I'm sure, but there's also some guidance there. Lastly, I think the thing that's been absorbing most of my attention is the closure of the Salvation Army that has for a very long time served very many people. I found out today that they actually serve upwards of 250 meals per day, day in and day out, and that is a really vital resource for our community and people that are in need and are just trying to basically survive. So I think the decision of the mayor to close it so rapidly was a poor decision. And I wish he would have considered the impacts that it was going to have on everybody that utilizes those resources. So part of my going around to see what the impact was, I attended different community meals, and I've been touching base with folks that are basically in the same line of work as feeding people for free that need it, and their community meals are slammed. They're really overwhelmed, and they're happy to help, but they're not built to sustain the levels that they are currently experiencing. Fortunately, there's been a lot of people that reached out. I attended a food council meeting this morning and got some updates from Captain Joe about where he stands with the Salvation Army operations. They will be opening. They're looking to open by Tuesday to have a mobile food operation, but the site is yet to be determined. They're planning on still doing the cooking and preparation at Washington Street. So and the pantry part of it is another huge piece. So basically to be managing an offsite spot and the current spot, they need more volunteers. So if there's folks that are listening, if you want to help out and lend a helping hand, there's an opportunity with the Salvation Army. I think probably reach out to them by Tuesday next week if you want to help serve food or distribute pantry items. That's been on top of my mind, and of course they're gonna hopefully by October they'll be opened up on Walnut Street and be able to do like the full service that they had been able to do before. So it might be easier to commit to the volunteering if you know that it's not going to be more than 6 months. So that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Hotchkiss. Councilmember Rathmel.
I will be announcing this more officially tomorrow, but I want to put on record every chance I get that we will be hosting the first Proactive Code Town Hall on Thursday, June 5th at 6 p.m. here in Council Chambers. It will be an opportunity to share feedback, thoughts, weigh in on, but also hear more about and ask questions regarding the proactive rental housing inspection program that I introduced in early March. So again, that's Proactive Code Town Hall here in Council Chambers on Thursday, June 5th at 6 p.m.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Rathmel. Councilmember Murray.
At this time.
Councilmember Middleton.
My microphone cutting out a little bit. That's okay. I think I'm okay now. Yeah. Oh, yeah, let me take that. Thank you. Thought I was good. May 29th will be our neighborhood West Side meeting. I know people have been calling about some complaints about the traffic, and we're gonna try to come up with a plan on the west side of Binghamton. It's been kind of, since we both been in office, like that's been our top constituent complaint. So continue to reach out to me. I'm here for you through it, and hopefully we can come up with a plan regarding that. I just wanted to echo in on Nate's comments. I'm very, very saddened by the sudden closure of the Salvation Army. It's just, I still keep thinking about often the police are often like at events, if there's an issue, why couldn't we just use extra protection and still feed people instead of just shutting down something? If that was the case, if it's a safety issue, we have the police. I've seen Binghamton police at things that for less and a bunch of them. If that was the case, and if it was really a safety issue, which, it might be, why couldn't we use police and still feed people instead of cutting off it in entirety? Because so many people need, especially with all the cuts that are going to happen, these services are needed now more than ever. And I am very disappointed with the mayor's decision, and I really hope that, something can be done, because just an abrupt closure is definitely not okay. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Middleton. Councilmember Kavanaugh.
I'm fine, thank you.
I'm going to kind of jump on Councilmember Middleton and Councilmember Hotchkiss's coattails and literally just put on record. Councilmember Hotchkiss said the Salvation Army serve 250 meals a day, but yet 6 business owners hold a monopoly on Washington Street that seem to make all the changes they want when they want it. So obviously that seems to be more important than the masses. So I just wanted to add that to the record. I have no other communications from council with that. Can I get a motion
Wait.
to adjourn?
I want to
Go ahead.
Go back to me. Sorry, there's one other thing that I thought Carla was going to bring, or Councilmember Murray was going to bring up about the Clinton Street DRI process that kind of kicked off on Monday. So if you have a project that like falls within the downtown revitalization area on Clinton Street or is slightly outside of it, that you want to see happen, whether that's you want different improvements to the sidewalk, murals, you want business facades improved, whatever. Just trying to raise as much awareness as possible, and also try to make sure that the members of the public that are in that area know that this is happening and that they can follow along. I'm sure Carla will try to keep everybody, Councilmember Murray will try to keep everybody involved in that whole process, because there's going to be a lot of public feedback that goes into that body for project approval. So I want to elevate that.
Thank you for bringing that up, Councilman Hotchkins. So there is some information that I want to share at the next meeting, including where the slide deck from the conversation can be found, and the call for proposal with a few details. And so I'll make sure that information is shared at the next meeting. Thank you.
Unless anybody else has anything they'd like to say, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?